What's up, everybody? It's Tyler with Bedrock. And hey, I wanted to, there's a lot of things going on right now in the world, and just update everyone of my own 2 cents, my opinion, and kind of what to do to prepare. And this isn't financial advice, but I'm just going to kind of share just my thoughts with you guys. And so I decided to pick a nice beach background today, just rather be at the beach, right? Obviously, what's happening with the war over in Ukraine is terrible. Um, but also just doing a lot of research recently. Seems like there's like a war on Facebook. Everybody's like talking about the gas prices, and they're just like either complaining that gas is so expensive. Why the heck didn't we, you know, have the pipeline going? Why is that shut down? We can't afford $6, $7 of gas. And you have other people on the other side that are like either supporting the president or whatever they may be doing with that are like, well, you drive a Ford F-150, so if you didn't drive that, you would be not complaining about gas prices. And the reality is, you know, whether you believe it's better to drive an electric vehicle or it's not, China's actually they produce a ton of concrete, which basically is 50% of the whole global warming problem. So the fact that yes, if I could drive a electric vehicle, or you're sitting in a garage, right, and you have an electric vehicle turned on, you're not gonna die. Versus like if you had a gas car turned on, you sat in there with the fumes. Obviously, that's probably not good for you, right? And you're probably gonna die. So yeah, we should probably use some kind of renewable energy. That's why I'm in the renewable sector with solar. And the whole thought process is just like we'll get there eventually, but when desperate times happen, it calls for desperate measures. And so it's not like you can just go down and get a brand new Ford F-150 that's all electric. They don't have them on the lot. And a lot of this has to do with inflation that's going on. So we have oil prices that are insanely high right now. They came back down today, but they've been over $100. Potentially talking about going all the way up to 200. And a lot of that has to do with the war. And so I've been, looking in and kind of digging into that. But Russia, they have a very low GDP, right? And so the idea is if everybody stops using Russia, um, the idea there is, we'll cut them off from their resources because their natural resources are massive, like they're gigantic. They're known for being the number one for natural gas in the world. Their landmass is just huge, so their resources are huge. I think they're number two or three when it comes to oil production, and they have think like the Siberian forest. It's that national forest has 1/5 of the world's timber. So it's not just like when gas prices go up, you got to think about the truck drivers that then have to drive the trucks. We don't have electric vehicles to move the food. When you're shipping stuff overseas, the boats use gas, right? Everybody's using oil potentially to move products around. And so it creates a lot higher demand, I would say, and you have higher inflation rates. So if we don't have as many products coming over, but everybody needs to use them, the only thing that they can do is increase the prices. And so what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is how to protect your purchasing power. And kind of what I've seen is over the last 30 months, we've inflated, or the US has inflated the dollar 20%. And tomorrow, um, the Fed has to decide if they're going to raise interest rates or not. And if they raise interest rates, my guess is that the stock market is going to go down. So I don't know if that's going to happen or not. With the war out there and what's happening, they might extend it. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do there. But as far as they're going to have to keep printing, like that's the only way that they're going to be able to continue to do this. And so there's four things that I really like right now. Okay, which is gold, silver, Bitcoin, and Bedrock. And I'll explain why all four of them. So number one, actually, let me share my screen and we'll kind of go through these. if we end up looking at like the oil prices, for example, come on, share my screen. Really? Let's try it again. Okay. All right. So, looking at oil, yeah, it's come back. I like to look at things from like a really far view. Most people are looking at this recent trend, like, it's going crazy, right? And it is, it's going crazy. And I don't disagree with people cutting off Russia. The only thing is China going to go in as a backdoor, kind of be a middleman, and then just continue to buy the resources from them anyways, and then sell it to everybody else for less money, or not less money, but just kind of make a profit, right? And they'll pretend that they're not doing that. We'll find out, and we'll see. But with gold, the reason why I'm really liking gold right now is if we kind of look at a much larger chart here, right? I don't really think necessarily gold is like an amazing investment overall, just because it's more of a way to protect your purchasing power. That's kind of how I look at gold. You can take gold anywhere around the world. Anybody will take it. It doesn't matter where you are. But it's kind of a pain. You don't want to hold gold at your house. Those people are gonna, if they know you have gold at your house, they're gonna come break in, and you're looking for a robbery there. That's not necessarily something to do, but it is obviously easier than hiding a bunch of silver, right? So you're gonna have way more silver than you are gold. But gold is always like, if we look back in time, like for our grandparents that are always like, buy gold, buy gold. I've never really looked into that until more recently, to be honest. And so, but as we look at the data, it kind of makes sense. Like, you can go, you can buy some gold bars, or you can buy a little bit of gold here and there, and then you can go back and turn it in at any time you want and get US dollars for it. And so if they're talking about pushing inflation up, keep printing, kind of back in 1930s when we had the Great Depression, they made gold illegal, and I don't think that's going to happen again. But essentially, like, everyone had to turn in their gold, and they would get back around like $26 for every ounce back then. So it was something around that. It was like right around $26. So I made a video in the past where I had the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure that's about where it was. And then looking at silver, why I like silver more than gold is silver actually has a purpose. It's a way more resourceful commodity or metal. It's a mineral, right? And essentially, in all of the new cars that they're doing with electric batteries, silver is needed. And so with the new Green Deal that's been passed, silver is in solar panels, silver is in a lot of different things that are useful. And so I kind of see, if gold continues to go up, I think silver is definitely going to follow that trend. And so that's just kind of the 2 cents on those two metals. So they definitely hold their value long term. They fluctuate. A lot of this has to do with fear and where the market is at that time. You can see right before 2008, and then during 2008, like it peaked for sure, and then it came back down, and people started to believe in the dollar again, so they sold off their gold. But if you had bought gold, anytime, actually just about ever, and you just kind of hold it, and you're not, like, if you have money that is in the bank that you don't touch, it's almost better to just go buy some gold or silver, in my opinion. Because if you need to use that money later down the road, if you had it in gold over the last few months, when inflation happened, you'd actually be up more than 20% today. So that's enough with that. All right, so Bitcoin, if we kind of look at Bitcoin here, let me remove these real quick too. We'll hide our alligator guy. So with Bitcoin, we don't know if it's going to go up or down, right? However, because we've been in a little bit of a bear market. But if the Fed decides to not increase their rates, and they decide to continue to print, right? And really, it's not even printing, it's just adding a zero onto the charts, right? They just go in there now, it's all digital. And so anyways, if they end up doing that, that means that there's going to be more money that's going to come into Bitcoin. And I don't see a way of them not being able to get out of this problem without continuing to to print, and so I think inflation is going to actually continue to go up. Um, the reason I like Bitcoin a little bit more than gold is because it's a lot safer, right? As far as storing it, you don't have to worry about somebody breaking in your home to steal your Bitcoin. Like that's not really a thing. Versus if you tell everyone, "Oh yeah, I got gold at my house," like that's not a good thing, right? So it's an easier way to transfer, and I think long term, um, just like the other day, the federal government just put out a thing where they're having the SEC start to do some research, and all that's really going to turn into is just uh, they're trying to find a way to make essentially a US dollar that's in crypto, which we have USDC, which is funny. But they kind of want to come up with their own Fed coin or something potentially like that. So if that happens, clearly Bitcoin, regardless of what people say of it being expensive or it's not fast enough or just all these things against Bitcoin, Bitcoin is kind of the big name in the industry. Everybody knows it. I think it's going to be here long term. And so anyone that's looking, I would say, from a reputable standpoint as a company, is going to choose Bitcoin. And so I think that this right here, long term, is going to be another good place to store a little bit of your money. So kind of diversify it, right? And then lastly, with Bedrock, if we go and we look at this chart, kind of what's happened over the time is like we took off, right? Staking wasn't involved. This thing shot, it mooned very quickly. And part of that is when people will put in big, large orders, there's also like random bots that will also push up the price and they'll keep pushing it up, pushing it up. And then when volume slows down, they sell off. So you can see like the volume was very high and then volume kind of slowed down. So they just sold off. And then from here, basically, we had all these red candles. Basically, any of these big red candles, somebody probably was able to go out and buy a Lambo. So like when I see these red candles, like Lambo, 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 right? But these weren't people that were invested long term. And so there's so many crypto projects out there that don't have the fundamentals of like a real business. There's nothing different between their project and it's just hype, right? And so they were riding this hype wave. I think a lot of tokens are going to get shucken out. There's a ton of just pump and dumps, and it's really irritating and frustrating. But something that I think is going to be massive with this is we're about to launch the project side here pretty soon. So I'm going to do a test tomorrow actually with it. It's just about ready to go. The MVP is anyways. And so we're gonna test it out tomorrow, make sure everything's working good. But we're looking good to go on March 31st. So pretty pumped about that. But you could go to the bank today and let's say you were able to, let's say you had an idea as good as curing cancer, right? If you don't have the credit score, it's an automatic denial and they don't care what you're doing, right? Versus over here, we're going to be able to allow people that have really cool ideas where they can set the terms and anybody around the world can decide if they want to get involved and help that business out with the hope that the business will succeed and that you'll get your money back and earn some interest for helping them out. So it's kind of like crowdfunding, right? And I think it's really going to be something that right now, as we're in a bear market, that's fine, but this is a great time to accumulate some stuff. And so we're going to continue to push this. I just started doing some stuff with Facebook. With the new account, though, they only allow you to spend like $50 a day, which is a joke. And so it takes about 2 weeks before we'll be able to get that limit increase, and then we'll be able to really go for it. Another thing we're going to start doing, though, is there's a lot of YouTubers out there that have good channels, good content, and we're going to start doing some promos with them, have them start making videos about us. And so last night I just paid the first person to do that. I got a few more people today. So within the next 48 hours, we should have some more people talking about different coins on YouTube, specifically about Bedrock, which would be awesome. So these are kind of the four things, though, is just diversify for your purchasing power. If we look at Pancake, or not Pancake Swap, but if we look at Bedrock Swap, Um, we're getting a lot of people actually on, uh, I would say on Bitmart to buy this token. But the problem is Bitmart has to follow the PancakeSwap side too. So if people are buying on Bitmart, there's a team over there that has to sell it off to make sure that it matches the price of Bedrock. So I think as Bedrock starts to go up over here on this side on the website, it's going to actually make it where on Bitmart it's going to get more popular too, which will bring in a lot more users. And we're super small. I mean, so for most of the people that are left or that are around are the ones that believe in the project, which is awesome. And I think everybody else is just kind of, they've either left and that's fine. Like they just, they jumped in and they took off. So it is what it is. But these are kind of the four things that I'm definitely, I would say moving my money into. Pretty much trying to get rid of all of my US dollars right now as I keep inflating it, because leaving that money in the bank, it's just going to make it harder and harder. And these are going to be the best times to actually buy the dip. It's going to be the best time to, if we do have a correction in the market, which we haven't had for, I mean, people talk about 2008 being bad. It got bailed out, right? And so I think that we're not going to have a long term, I would say, not depression, but bear market, I guess. I think it's only going to last about a year or 2 years. I don't think we're going to be in something that's going to last too long, because the technology has just come so far on the financial spaces with cryptocurrency that I don't think it's really going to take too long. It's just going to be, what can the government switch over to, and they don't want to lose uh, the trust in the U.S. dollar. So that's kind of my 2 cents there. Take it from heart. If you hear people out there that are saying this is what's going to happen or that's what's going to happen, they don't really know. Nobody knows right now. I don't even know right now myself. It's kind of a wild time. But what I do know is to just kind of diversify, look at some history, and just take everything kind of with a grain of salt. But look at both sides, see what both sides are saying. I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Libertarian or any of that, but definitely politics have split up people, right? You're either on this team or you're on that team. But hear what both sides have to say with a grain of salt, and then kind of just do a little bit more research. But even the news, like, you're really not, you can find what you want to hear out there, but it's not like any news source has 100% of the accurate information. So these are just kind of the things that I'm going to be doing. I just want to share that with you guys. Hopefully you learned something today. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video.